And we are live here with week 2 of WSSEA Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Action for the matchup between East Valley against Davis. My name is Spicy and I'm joined on the mic here by Kaizo. How are we doing today, Kaizo?
I am ready to go, man. I got lit up a little bit earlier on with some good Rocket League action. We got Smash Bros today. We've got all kinds of esports action going on the WSSEA and IEN channels. So it's been a great night for esports, and I'm hoping that continues.
Oh yeah, it's always a great day here for esports. And you were talking about IEN earlier. We go over to the West Coast now here with WSSEA. I remember doing Splatoon here with WSSEA last in the fall. And the action there has been absolutely amazing. There's a lot of historic rivalries here. There's a lot of great talent. There's across the entire state of Washington. I'm excited here for some great Smash action and really looking forward to this matchup in particular.
Yeah, we've got week number 2 here between these two teams, so it's going to be East Valley Red Devils going up against Davis Smash, and the Davis Smash team, week number 1, they got a 9-6 victory, so they're coming into this one 1-0, whereas East Valley rather, they had a bye week in week number 1, so a little bit more time to rest, a little time to collect themselves, get ready to go into the regular season, and hopefully that comes to fruition here.
Yeah, we're looking to see how both of these teams kind of capitalize off of pretty much a decent week 1. If you're coming off of a bye week, you have a lot more time to prepare going into basically your first matchup here. I know WSSEA did have a preseason, but at this point, this is really where things start to become real here, but it's also a long season. I like to harken back to this when we go into the later weeks, but the adaptations, the adjustments being made by each individual player going in from week 1 to week 2 is going to be great here. I'm super excited to see what kind of things have been worked on in the last week or so, whether that be during your bye week or making the adjustments from your last matchup. There's a lot of different things you can be doing here, whether it be how you approach the neutral game, how you're approaching combos and punishes. Maybe someone decided to pick up a new character in the last week or so, and you could see something brought out here on stream.
And we would be seeing it here for the first time on stream, thanks to Zotac Gaming. We want to give a big shout out to Zotac Gaming for powering today's stream, and it's thanks to their incredible support, that we're able to bring this broadcast to you, helping to showcase all of this amazing talent that we've got in WSSEA and all of these Scholastic esports channels. So let's all show our appreciation to Zotac Gaming by giving them a shout out on social media. Make sure that you join their community Discord as well, and don't forget to use the hashtag Powered by Zotac, that's ZOTAC, should be down there directly underneath me, or hashtag Zotac USA when you post. These guys have been so great to us here on the WSSEA esports scene, and we definitely want to express our deep, heartfelt thanks to them.
Yeah, Zotac has been an absolutely great sponsor here for WSSEA. I've been seeing what they've been able to do here, really helping out all these players here in Washington State, and I know Washington State has a lot of talent nowadays when it comes to various games here. Looks like they're going to get into it soon. I do see both teams are now locked in here. I'm really curious about which team won the coin flip to determine the first stage, and also what characters we could be seeing as we go into this first set.
And we've got plenty of character discussion been underway in the last couple of weeks, thanks to that most recent, I think it was the Luminosity tier list that people have been talking about, really shaking things up. I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of it is results-based, obviously. So as, Hurt on the rise in the professional scene, Snake stocks going up, Game & Watch stocks going up as well, but I think there's a lot that is forgotten about in our high to middle of high tier going underway here between these two squads. Being available, this is your DLC comeback moment, but unfortunately won't be able to make it back with that Octa Slash and will be taking the first stock loss.
Yeah, that's very big here now for the Sora player. Just being able to capitalize here with an early stock advantage. The side B curse from Sephiroth is going to tack on some extra damage, though. Sora's recovery does make it much easier for them to get back onto the stage whenever possible. Throwing out the Thundaga as well. Just trying to space out, trying to just zone here, trying to take the pressure and the space away here from Sephiroth. Who's now just trying to get anything going here in the mid game. A lot of specials being thrown out here from the Sora, just trying to tack on some damage. Sora is also another very light, very floaty character, so they are definitely in a percentage here where they could definitely lose that stock, especially with a character like Sephiroth, who definitely has a lot of different kill options, like that back air we just saw.
Yeah, that sweet spot back air is going to get it done from middle of the stage. You cross that 100% threshold, and you gotta play so much more careful. No wing necessary, by the way, on that kill. Just straight up getting that elimination just based on the raw damage in the kit. So evening things up in the stock count here, but extra credit definitely in the favor of Boingo Cat on the Sora. It is going to be about a 40, call it 60% lead, and getting once again up to that point where Sephiroth has the wings, so full Super Soldier mode with the increased movement speed, damage, knockback, all that fun stuff. But you gotta not be an ice cube if you're going to make use of it.
That is very true here. Sephiroth at a really dangerous percentage. Not exactly where you want to be here, but you do have Rage on your side, and Sephiroth is a character capable of pulling some incredibly early stocks here despite being at 149. You see that neutral B charged to that second level is going to put Sora into a dangerous spot, but Sora responding with a great aerial of their own, able to take that stock, put the Sephiroth down into the last segment. What an aggressive down air from the Pirates now, just trying to get anything going. Big parry from this Sora, though, who's able to just keep trying to tack on that extra percentage, is not trying to lose this stock here. Up B not going to connect, counter not going to connect from both sides here. Extra credit being once again put out now as this Sephiroth tries to find this stock and take us to a last stock situation.
And a lot of good stage control held by East Valley here. That Sora has just kind of camped out on the left, or excuse me, in the middle part of the screen, and just allowed the Sephiroth to be on either side. Wing will come out one more time in this game, whether you like it or not, whether you're a Pirates fan or you're a Boingo Cat fan. This is the final stock for Davis High School. He's got to get good mileage out of that DLC comeback mechanic if he wants to find his way back into this one. Up smash barely does not connect, Spicy. I mean, that absolutely would have gotten it done, but unfortunately doesn't quite find a mark. The up air will certainly do it, though.
Yeah, and Sephiroth's aerials just have that much range here. If you thought the up smash had a lot of range, now just throw the up air. That's the exact same thing, just in the air this time. But the Sora, great stuff once again, and that's going to actually be the stock here, as Boingo Cat is going to be able to take that first game here, helping out the East Valley Red Devils at least get an early lead here in this first set.
Yeah, and this is going to be a best of 3 between these two players, and it's going to be that way all the way throughout, so it's going to be each individual matchup plays their own best of 3, and the winner of that best of 3 takes home the points for their team. So East Valley taking that first round means that obviously now up 1-0 in this head-to-head matchup, and the victor of this first matchup is going to be taking home 2 points for their team. So that is an early lead here to be certain for East Valley. It's on Davis to now make some adjustments here. I think that a lot of the pacing was in favor of East Valley in that game number 1. It felt like Sora had a lot of stage control, understood very well when to press the advantage, when to back up, and use some of those special moves and try to keep a little bit of distance between the two. And Sephiroth can sometimes struggle to get in on zoner characters like that, so credit where it's due to East Valley.
Yeah, one thing I really want to see Davis do here with the Sephiroth player, assuming we're locking in the same characters, I really want to see them utilize a stage with more platforms here. One thing Sephiroth is able to do is, because of how big that sword is, you are really able to just trap characters on platforms. We go to King K. Rool, actually, and this is a much different matchup compared to what we're going to see. Sephiroth, a character who is a lot more with a big sword, is able to just kind of outrange in that way, playing very much in that mid-range. K. Rool kind of has 2 modes. You do have a couple projectiles that you are able to use, but you also do have some decent scrapping ability. And being a heavyweight here, both good and bad in this situation. You're able to get stocks really early, but as a super heavyweight against Sora, you are also leaving yourself open to basically be combo food.
Yep, and he's going to turn into a little bit of that here, but I do think that going to the K Rool maybe says that the special move's more of a problem as identified by Davis, maybe wanting a counter, maybe a couple of projectiles of your own to try to deal with it. For what it's worth, I mean, this is working out significantly better than it was in game number 1 on the Sephiroth, looking much more comfortable, but by God, Spicy, did he just reflect that cannonball?
Yeah, the counter is also a reflector here for Sora, so you do see things like that happen. And Sora's reflector is incredibly strong, and it only gets stronger when moves like the cannonball come out, as it just scales with the opponent's move, and that's things like that. And now you're just seeing this extra pressure just being added on and just tacking on all this percent. You're seeing some reflecting action here. Are we playing Smash or are we playing tennis? I'm not too sure at this point, but we are seeing now if we're going to be able to see what is going to happen here as this K-Roll still looks to get that first stock off.
And I think that a good adaptation that Davis could make here is maybe going for some of these punishes on the side pieces. Once again, counter on the ledge gets it done on the get-up attack from the Pirates. But I do feel like East Valley's throwing out a lot of those Sora side Bs, which I don't believe they're safe on shield. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Spicy, but I definitely would be fishing for maybe a parry opportunity on some of those options, as we see a down throw into a second berry is the combo of choice for the Pirates. So quite a lot of damage dealt there, but not enough knockback to get the stock.
Now you see the Sora also has basically full stage control here. K-Rool really struggles,
no.
and that is a third counter. It works once, it works twice, or it's got to make it work 3 times. That's also going to be the first set here, going in favor of East Valley with a nice 2-0, and that counter slash reflector, really the MVP of that game in that set.
Yeah, and I mean, credit where it's due to East Valley for recognizing a beautiful opportunity. It didn't seem like Davis, I don't want to say understood, because obviously once you get countered on the ledge, you know that you can get countered on the ledge again. But you don't usually see people throwing out the counter that often. It's usually like a back to the wall kind of situation, or maybe once a match you'll try to catch somebody off guard. But you can honestly catch somebody off guard by going for an option like that more often, just because they're thinking it's going to be very few and far between when you see that move come out. So it will be East Valley, Spicy, as you mentioned, that take that 2-0. They're going to be getting 2 points to their team, so now 2 points up on on Davis High School. And this next match also going to be worth 2 points. The points, of course, going to be going up as we go through some of these matches, going from our less experienced to our more experienced players. So this could be a good time to get that equalizer if you're Davis High School and you want to ideally get yourself back within striking distance here.
Yes, and we're going back to Final Destination again to start off this second set when we got a Joker against a Ganondorf. We briefly brought up the tier list earlier on in this cast, but now with Joker against Ganondorf, this is basically the opposite ends here. Joker at one point considered to be the best character in this game. Ganondorf, basically since the second month of Ultimate's release, has been lounging over in those bottom tiers. But one thing with Ganondorf is that you hit incredibly hard and things like that. You saw that stock is over it in a flash here, as right now it doesn't matter what the tier list says, going for a hard read with that F smash as well, and already up to this early stock lead.
And this is how you gotta play the Ganondorf, man. You gotta swing hard and you gotta swing fast. You can't allow the opponent to get their feet set, get comfortable. Obviously not the best movement in the game, not the best frame data either, but there's one thing you do have if you're this Ganondorf, and that's moves that hit really, really hard. And they have definitely gotten good mileage out of those so far for East Valley. Already 1 stock up here and close to lapping in percentage. Finally, that side B from the Joker will put them back in the lead, but it is looking very, very challenging to get your way back into this one, especially after an unfortunate unforced error there.
Arsene running out at that point is really unfortunate here for the Pirates. Not what you want to be seeing here, because now with Ganondorf not only still at 3 stocks but also at high percentage, Ganondorf's going to kill even earlier here. And one important thing to consider about Ganondorf is, yes, they are a low tier character, but there's something about this character that makes it so scary, is that you just strike fear into every opponent you have, because you always have to play around the idea that this character could kill you incredibly early here, and that's an up smash once again. This is just tacking on extra percentage. Your dash attack into up, you're not going to connect.
Nice.
Superman punch going to get countered out at the moment though, and that's the first stock here now for Davis in this set.
Yeah, and another good use of the counter there was East Valley in the previous one. Now Davis getting their mileage out of the counter as well. But 111% on this Joker means that this is... with the heal explosion? Are you kidding me? Up tilt is the edge trap option of choice, not one that you get to see very often, but it is definitely flashy when it pays off there. In East Valley, this is a roaring start for them.
What a counter option there. Like, I was stunned. You don't see up tilts ever, pretty much, except for like hard reads or ledge trap situations. It is very much a flashy move, a play that you throw out if you're trying to, like, quote-unquote swag on your opponent. But in that opportunity, it worked out, and you can't fault them going for it, because it gets the stock. It sends a message, which I think is also a big thing here, especially when you're playing Ganondorf. That's kind of like a big moral boost, not just for yourself, but the rest of your teammates who are playing after you as well.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a character with aura. There's not a lot more aura than just firing off an up tilt on the side of the stage there. And now it is back on Davis. Trying to find some answers here. I mean, we talked about the tier list, but I do think it is worth bearing in mind that at this level, you really need comfort. Comfort is king. It doesn't matter if you're pulling out a Steve, if you're pulling out a Ganondorf, or anything in between. As long as you're comfortable, as long as you feel like you can make those conversions, get your punishes, you feel comfortable in that neutral, that's all that matters. And that might be why we're seeing a swap here from Davis, that Pirates logo. Going to be taking on the Sora here, as we saw from East Valley in the previous one. So no more Joker, going for a bit of a different matchup.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how they're going to play Sora in this matchup here, because one thing Ganondorf does struggle with is zoning. So if you do want to just play Sora, knowing either in a hit and run aspect or in the be able to just spam out those neutral specials, it is going to tack on some extra percentage here, and Sora does kill deceptively early, but Ganondorf already going in for some big punishes here. That forward smash from Ganondorf connected, that could have been a disastrous situation here. A great punish there. Also going to follow this up with a parry, just throwing out some extra specials now, and it's a lot better of a matchup at this point, it looks like.
Man, I love Ganondorf, but it is so hard to root against him. But wow, that counter, I mean, I don't know what these guys had in their breakfast this morning, but it is like counter-O's, I guess, because they've been throwing those out, and they've looked fantastic so far throughout the course of this one. And down smash charged up all the way. That would have, I mean, taken the stock would have been an understatement. That would have taken at least 2 stocks, I'm pretty sure. And we'll finally clean that one up with the forwarder to even things back out. But once again, adaptation looking to be very positive. A lot more comfortable on the Sora, it would seem.
It looks like the Sora is just a comfort pick here, and at this point, at this level, you really do want to just focus on the fundamental plays, focus on characters you just feel good and comfortable with here. And if it's Ganondorf for one, that helps a lot. If it's Sora for the other, that's good. There's another counter. That's like the 5th stock today taken with Sora counter, which is an absolutely insane statistic. That could have been another insane play if we saw that Warlock Punch actually connect there. You see the Ganondorf going for those big moves here, because at this percentage, that will kill Sora, really secure that stock, and it's going to be very scary here. You're going to see if this Ganondorf is able to read these rolls, because this Sora is rolling quite a bit here, it's going to set up for a disastrous punish.
Bit of scramble between these two, and the flame choke into the down tilt won't quite get it done, and maybe a counter read there from East Valley. Like we've been saying, those have been coming out quite often, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to wait for the next one and try to punish them as Davis try to get their way back into this one. They've got this Ganondorf. I mean, realistically, Ganondorf kind of always at kill percent, just because all you need is one good off-stage option, and that'll do it. But there we see it again. The counter read out beautifully by East Valley, waits that one out, and then smashes him home with the punish.
Yeah, and this is a setup for a last stock situation here. Ganondorf has a lot of percentage on here, but you can still kill very early. It's now a matter of just finding that opening here, and you know that the Sora is going for these counters. We're seeing if there's an edge guard situation here. We hit it with the freeze, hits with a fire. It's in a free fall situation, but isn't going to get punished here. Sora has the Thundaga up. Edge guard situation once again. This could be the opportunity. Going in for the freeze, going for another aerial here. There's the up B. That's a JV2 here, and that's going to be the first game taken here for Davis and the Pirates.
And a great adaptation from them as well. I do think that it is worth bearing in mind that probably I mean, I hate to call it a misinput when you're mashing, but sometimes you just mash out a little bit faster than you'd think, and then whatever option you last put in seems to be what you end up with. I feel like twice there, trying to mash out at the Ice Cube, we saw East Valley unfortunately fire off an up B above the stage, and Davis definitely punishing that one. So evening things back out there, Spicy, and making us 1-1 here in this one. And I think the Davis are pretty primed here to get that equalizer, unless there's some kind of large-scale adaptation coming from East Valley. This might just be an even game once more.
I'm thinking it's going to be a relatively even game once again. I'm wondering if we're also going to be going to Final Destination again, this time in the last game of this set. We've been going to FD every single game so far today, and I'm wondering how these players are how comfortable are these players on the other stages here, especially when you start to implement platforms into this game. That's really where you're going to see some different options, I think, really start to shine. We've already seen different characters. We've seen an evolution of sorts in the strategy of how we're playing this as well. And it does look like here we do see a switch up to Korin from Ganondorf. So 2 swords in play now. Korin is much higher on the tier list than Ganondorf as well. And one thing to note, both these characters have a counter that is very strong. So you're going to see a pretty interesting matchup in just that sense.
Man, it really is a talking point, though, between these teams, because they definitely have been loving their counters. So you're definitely... And already we get to see one, and immediately answered back by a counter going the other way. And unfortunately, East Valley sent off the stage, up B going the wrong way, and suddenly a huge lead here for Davis.
Yeah, it's a huge lead here, at least, because having now that little mental advantage of not having that SD is going to be pretty helpful here. Davis now trying to do anything they can here. These charge forward smashes, any charge smash attack is so scary because it's almost a game of chicken, especially with 2 characters that have a counter here. You're watching what this Korin player is able to do. They are trying to just tack on some extra percentage. Great punish there from the Sora. Another follow-up here from this Korin. As you see, both of them are playing pretty close up compared to what we've been seeing before. So I think it's going to be a great matchup here, and just seeing what's the option. Are we going to be able to equalize this game in terms of stock?
It's definitely a different pace than we've seen, right? Because it's been a lot of, man, what is the correct way to say that word? It's been a lot of stuff not really lining up between the characters we've seen. Very different matchups between projectile floaty character and a heavy, and then we got to see a little bit earlier on about the same. And this time, 2 characters that are not afraid to get in there and scrap and throw out that down smash for Davis. And the Pirates now off to a 3-1 stock lead and roaring their way toward these 2 points to even things up.
Yeah, and this is a great thing here for Davis. Not only are they trying to get their first points on the board here, but it's also just a great way to the morale boost, going as for some momentum with the rest of your teammates behind you. This game isn't over yet. Korin throwing out the counter once again. He's going to connect this time. That is, we've had a lot of counter kills here today. They're just going to add on to that tally once again here, but you still got a couple stocks to take here. That's a great start. Great combo to start off now, but once again, a counter to end it.
Yeah, really just throwing a wrench in what looked to be a very beautiful developing combo there from East Valley, and now back at kill position. Hang on, we got footstool down airs here? We got those? East Valley getting a little fancy here. I'm gonna have to get fancy on the way back to this ledge as well. Unfortunately, gets caught by the Thundaga. That one won't do it, but the next one certainly will if you can land it. Gets caught by the side B. Once again thrown off stage, stalls with the pin, and has fallen a little bit earlier to mashing out of that ice cube. Will manage to make it back to the stage, but the question is for how long, Spicy?
Yeah, it's really dangerous percentage here. Freeze once again. F smash not going to connect, and you don't see that every day, but Davis is going to be able to secure this game, secure this set, and equalize this overall match here at 2 apiece.
Man, shoutouts to Davis for making the adaptations. I mean, you drop a game after going 0-2 in the previous one. Momentum doesn't really seem to be on your side, but they definitely got it back in that one, made the necessary adaptations. And I also like that we're seeing a lot of variety in these picks, because you don't typically have just that one character that, oh, I'm so much better at whatever it is, Corrin, Joker, God forbid, Min Min. Usually people have a couple of different picks that they're comfortable on, and I like that you're willing to play that kind of rock, paper, scissors game and get a different look when the matchup doesn't seem to be going your way. And that does bring us, like you said, back to even footing. So match number 3 here, going to be worth 3 points. I'm not sure how important the point's going to be right now, considering things are completely even, but definitely would be the greatest time ever to stake your claim here, take another lead, start to make your way toward that end of the round.
And before we get into that, we do want to give another quick shout out to LANFest, helping me build these healthy communities through gaming. Over 20 chapters across the US and over 150 events a year. That's more events than there are characters in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that's not something you can say every day. Go to LANFest.com, check out the Washington chapters, Infernoland, and Emerald City LANFest to find an event near you. Meanwhile, we are going into this third set with a Little Mac duo on Final Destination. I am getting flashbacks to when Smash 4 Wii U and 3DS first released, and this is pretty much everything you saw online. What a matchup to see here on stream.
Man, these high school players love their Little Mac, and I love watching it because you want to talk about a character that very,
well, they both have counters.
Very one-sided, very much has a counter. Excellent point there as we see that get thrown out immediately, and you are not making that back as a Little Mac. It is a death sentence in this matchup if you get thrown too far off that stage. So Davis, unfortunately taking a spill there, will be on the receiving end of a couple more of these counters.
It's one of the most interesting dittos in this game, because one of the most, like, oh my gosh, we're going in with the KO punch right away before we can get into the analysis. Both these characters tend to have the stereotype of playing very aggressive, but you can also play Little Mac very defensive, very much counter punch heavy, which we are seeing here today. And that's a 3-stock right off the bat here in this third set, as East Valley has just run away here with that Little Mac. Just an insane play on their end.
Wow, I mean, blink and you'll miss it. And I think that by it, I mean about 7 counters that got thrown out there for East Valley. And at some point, you gotta think to yourself, surely they're not gonna use a counter again here. I mean, they haven't used, like, I mean, you're not exactly doing aerials as Little Mac, but you haven't seen any tilts, any dash attacks. It's just counter, 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 counter from East Valley. And why not, Spicy, when it's working out like this and it's getting you that 1-game lead?
And like one big thing I'm noticing from these teams that you are seeing a lot of smash attacks being thrown out there, and like smash attacks are really strong, and on Little Mac you can get away with it, but in the Little Mac Ditto, when there's a counter on the table, when you throw out that smash attack, you are leaving yourself open to being counter-attacked immediately. And once again, we're back here with the Little Mac Duo. It's really just seeing how does the punish games of these players really evolve here. Seeing a lot of dash attacks being thrown out from both sides, just trying to catch some landings, trying to catch anything here. There's counters once again. It's really just trying to see who's playing around this counter better.
Wow, I mean, story of the set, story of the game as well. As you can see, these two players feeling each other out. That counter does seem to be a big ticket item. As we see a counter on a counter there, I think we'll get a couple more looks at that interaction if I had my money on it. And if I have my money on it, that's another stock taken now for the Pirates, who beginning to look a lot better in this one than they did the previous. I mean, you got to anticipate that East Valley can be throwing out these counters just like that. Maybe trying to play around that a little bit more. Things are not as explosive, Spicy, as the previous game, but in the Little Mac Ditto, there's really only so slow that the game can be played.
Oh yeah, especially on Final Destination. There's nowhere to run here. You're going to just see who's going to be able to punch that. I like the use of grabs here, because one thing counter can't do is protect from a grab. So if you're able to just use grabs as your counter play towards any counter, whether it be the counters in this matchup or counters in the future, that's probably going to be the big adaptation for both these teams, and playing around this beautiful punish using the forward smash to punish that counter attack.
KO Punch is online here in a shield break for East. Excuse me, is his punish on shield break run up jab? Am I seeing that correctly?
I guess we also saw a counter being countered right in front of our face here. It's a lot of neutral beats here. That was an interesting shield break punish. Once again, though, another counter on the table, and suddenly this is a last stock situation. Great forward throw to open things up. Counter once again from East Valley, and just trying to see who's going to be able to make the most of it here. There's no jump here. Dash attack option as well. So many counters being thrown here. It's just a matter of who's going to find that one opening. Oh, KO Punch online.
Yep, KO Punch online for East Valley, and counter, as always, online for East Valley. It just throws it out as an anti-air there, and what a beautiful option to finish us off there. Very cinematic on the edge of the stage to catch him trying to come back in with that KO Punch. I mean, it feels like it would have been a lot more poetic spicy if it was a counter that finished us off, but definitely getting the job done with the KO Punch there either way.
Yeah, Little Mac looking like Ryu or any of the traditional fighting game characters all of a sudden, because you're using that uppercut really as an anti-air, as a traditional short. You can at that given point, and you didn't. That was probably one of the few times you'll see an anti-air in a Little Mac Ditto, just because those characters are so ground-based. But it's like, what a matchup we just saw, and the great thing is, especially with this format, this might take us to like the very end here. It's still very even. We're going into these last two. The number 4 or the number 1 and number 2 players from both these teams are going to be coming up soon, and these matches are the most points in the overall match at 4 apiece.
Yep. So, and for those of you at home, I'm not the best at math, but I'll try to do some math here for you so that you don't have to. So with East Valley now up 3 points, with each of these 2 matches being 4 points apiece, all you need to do is secure this next round, and you do have the victory for East Valley. But across the way, if Davis can successfully come away with a round in this one, they will put themselves in a final game situation where, points be darned, we just need to win that final game. So it's all going to come down to this Sonic and Spicy. I'm going to be real honest with you. It's real hard to root for a Sonic.
I don't blame you, especially with the reputation Sonics have. But one thing to keep in mind, neither of these characters have a counter today. So this is going to be a matchup with a little more difference here. I was watching this Ness early on from East Valley, and one thing I saw was that they are utilizing their down B, the side magnet, as a way to extend combos. That's some higher level Ness thinking there. You are going to see the PK Rocket actually be utilized there just to put a threat. Great options here. The one thing I'm noticing also, this Sonic here from Davis High School is actually fairly aggressive. Not traditional play from a Sonic, which is nowadays evolved to be very hit and run, but they're playing very aggressive. You see them going in a lot, whether that be with a side B or a dash attack.
You know, the term that I've heard used in the past for how Sonic plays is circle camping, which kind of makes sense for how he plays. Just run to one side of the stage, charge spin dash, and then go to the other side and do much the same. But a very different story here from the Davis Sonic, as he does take the first spill of this one. Back throw, of course, one of Ness's premier kill options, and that'll get us underway here in this matchup. And I do want to draw attention to what you said earlier about the East Valley Ness here throwing out a lot of these side magnets throughout the combos. That is absolutely one of the signs of a higher level Ness. You're definitely right about that. All of your combo route optimization seems to come from being able to throw that one out. And while unfortunately it doesn't reflect anything, it doesn't counter anything, it is still technically in that same category as a utility option. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of it, even though no projectiles to be spoken of for this Sonic.
Yeah, going off that point, one other thing Side Magnet is able to do is really adjust the movement that Ness is able to do. You're seeing a lot of the double jump is being canceled out by the Side Magnet, so it's really tricky to catch Ness, despite how fast Sonic is, who's a character who's able to just run in and attack you. If you don't know where this Ness is and you can't read their movements, it's just so much harder to attack on damage. We're a relatively even game here in terms of percentage, and here on this stage, it's so close. You're seeing a lot of tilts being thrown out, and that was a reverse aerial rush there as well from that Ness with that approaching back air. So great options here. This Nest definitely knows what they're doing in terms of movement, but Sonic here as well, just able to read and get so many decent punishes here, and this is so even.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of aggressive ledge options as well on the recovery from... Oh, hang on a second. Dave is going all the way up to the top of that top blast zone with the up B and catching him with the up air. Credit where it's due for selecting the perfect option in that one, and now we'll be tasked with getting back on the stage at kill percent. About 100 on this Sonic, so that number does turn red, and that does mean, unfortunately, you will be back thrown at ledge if you are so unfortunate as to be grabbed by this nest, which will bring us back to, once again, an even game. Very, very even pace between these two, Spicy.
Now it's so close, one back and forth pretty much in terms of damage. Leading in with a dive kick there from the Sonic player, and you see now the down throw come out from the nest, goes into a back air there instead of forward air, just to get some extra damage. Wasn't able to connect though. Both these players are just trying to get as much percentage on as possible, because we're getting to a point where this is likely going to be a last hit situation soon. Into another edge guard situation here by the ledge. Back air won't kill at this percentage, but you're leading in with a down smash in case of a low recovery. Nair once again sends off stage. Sonic now able to just try and get something going. We are approaching a lot of edge guard situations. What a back air as your approach option, not connecting on both sides here. It is so close. It basically a last hit situation there. Homing attack, no one's gonna connect, and Ness with the home run off of that, able to take that game in what was so close.
And an excellent punish on that whiffed homing attack, which does have a whole lot of end lag if you end up hitting the stage, as Davis High School did there, unfortunately. It's a great capitalization from East Valley. And, you know, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, Spicy, and I won't say it twice, so you better listen well. I think that the Sonic needs to play a little bit lamer in this matchup, if he's going to be sticking with the same characters. Looks like we will be at least flirting with the idea of going for a different matchup, but trying to scrap up close and quote-unquote honest with the Nest didn't really seem to be getting it done for Davis. So if we see this Sonic come back out, I'd like to see, you know, slow down the pace a little bit more, maybe try to go for a bit more calculated play, because the scrambles, while very close, don't get me wrong, did seem to favor East Valley more often than not.
I would agree with that, though. What actually pretty much decided that game was that the Sonic overextended, went for that homing attack, and you saw it, you mentioned it. It bounced off the floor of the stage and basically right into the sweet spot for the home run. We saw a double switch.
Hello?
And we're going to Byleth Ridley as our matchup. I don't think I was expecting either of these characters to show up as a counter pick, let alone as a double counter pick here. What an insane matchup we are going to be seeing here as we return to Final Destination.
Man, do these guys know that they're allowed to pick other stages? I'm looking at our stage list right here. There's for sure other things on it, but Final Destination, definitely their preferred location to be scrapping it out. And East Valley off to a spectacular start. This Byleth is actually just kind of piecing up this Ridley right now.
Yeah, I'm really curious also, what's with the switch on both sides here? You see the Byleth pick, as actually makes a lot of sense here, and I think it's actually just great here. You're also looking at just so much movement is actually being thrown on here from this Byleth. Not only are you seeing like those chains with the up B and all that, but they're B reversing that neutral special, able to just change their momentum mid-air. It's led to some great opportunities here as they take an early lead, trying to extend this here because Byleth has some great combos of their own as well.
Byleth does, and I do think it is good to point out the movement, because obviously movement comes at a premium. What a grab there. This Byleth is looking so optimized. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Ness also looked very good as we were talking about, but this is some of the better Byleth gameplay I think that I've seen, not only at a high school level, I mean, even at the collegiate level. This is looking very smooth right now, which is unfortunately not a good look for Davis High School, as they get spiked by that up B, and now Davis on their final stock, perhaps, as a school. You have to come away with this one.
Yeah, this Byleth is looking incredibly clean right now. They're getting so many punishes off of grabs. The movement is very tricky to react to as well. Byleth has an insane recovery here as well, being able to use that tether grab, have so much range, and they're now just seeing what they're able to do. They're going way down under, trying to get that up B to send them down to the ending blast zone. But now, God, lucky enough, they are going to get
Nice.
swept away here as Davis still holding on to that last stock.
They've got a lot of extra credit on them already to the tune of about 88, and now in triple digits as well. Offstage has been a challenging place to be for this Davis Ridley, and he's contending with a lot of these up Bs from below from this Byleth, but the down tilt into the up air, Spicy, that's going to get the job done for East Valley High School, as we see a very, very, very effective Byleth coming out.
Yeah, I thought that Nest was really impressive, to be straight up honest with you. But the Byleth looked better. Like, I'm wondering if this is actually a Byleth main, and they're just saving it, just using that first game to kind of just gauge what the other team was going to be playing here. And like, especially in this, if you're expecting a Sonic, I think that Byleth would have been a really great counterplay. But now,
Sure.
especially going from Byleth into Ridley, not knowing that worked into such a great matchup for them. And you saw just how many punishes they were able to deal out. The combos were great as well. And it was just overall really impressive play you brought up. That's Byleth play that transcends typical things we see at the high school level. I remember seeing Byleth stuff like that, like at the upper echelons of collegiate. Also really reminiscent of things you would see in a top level too. Just impressive overall play from that side.
Yeah, looked very, very good on that Byleth and definitely earned that round, which puts them very comfortably in the lead here. We did some math on the broadcast earlier on, and unfortunately for Davis, the numbers are not adding up if you're a Davis High School fan. They're 7 points down as we go into our final round of play here, so won't be able to take away this week of competition, but definitely will get an opportunity to get some good experience and get some good exposure as well. Demonstrate what they had left in the tank as we get ready for this last matchup. And I gotta ask you, Spicy, if you are on the Davis side of things, what are you really taking away from this game while we get a second before we get into game? I mean, is it a order difference? Is it maybe seeing more of some characters, less of others? I mean, what are we really liking and disliking about what we've seen from Davis High School?
I think there's two things I really want to see here from Davis. I want to see difference play and how do you approach counters, because that's been the name of this entire set pretty much.
Yep.
Really just playing around that, because there's a lot of aggression here, but the defense in Smash I think is so underrated as well. Really being able to maximize things such as movement or evasive movement, playing around your grabs, your shield game, those are really important things to go along with your combos, your punishes. One thing I'm also going to want to see from the Davis side is utilizing more stages. I know maybe that's just when I played Smash, I did not like going to Final Destination whenever I was in bracket. I personally just really disliked it here. I loved moving on platforms and using that to my game plan. So I'm wondering here, maybe if they just played on like other stages, they could have gotten something going, as you do see that Davis does get an early stock lead here. Now actually bring out the Lucas here against the Pyramithra.
This is going to be our last pair of competitors for the night between Davis and East Valley. And it will be this Lucas that gets off to the early lead, taking the stock before really getting up to kill percent, only now getting to the point that some of these more aggressive options from the Pyro will be able to get it done. You'll definitely be seeing this Lucas fly off the screen if any of these aerials manage to connect from this Pyra. It has been a little less clean than we saw from the previous round. I mean, the movement not exactly immaculate in this one, Spicy, as unfortunately that side B went the wrong way, and Prism Plays will be losing another stock.
Unfortunate there. I will say that the Lucas is cooking in terms of movement to some extent. I have seen a couple of those using the momentum from that side B in the air is a really integral part of Lucas' gameplay in terms of just being able to space out. Lucas is a character who does have a lot of great combos, but also has a couple of zoning capabilities as well. So I'm really interested to see how they utilize this. You see the PK freeze actually coming out, and Pyramithra doesn't have a great recovery. That's actually going to take the stock, as Lucas is able to steal that game here, and Davis takes the first game in this last set.
And Wow. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
abrupt end to that one for sure. A lot of, I think the off-stage play really seeming to show as a weakness here for East Valley, because Davis getting a lot of good bang for their buck, just standing on that side of the stage, knocking this Pyra off stage. It is worth noting that despite despite Aegis being one of the better characters in the game, that is a common struggle point for these Aegis players, is finding a way back on stage once you get thrown off. The Mithra neutral is very, very good. You have excellent kill options in the Pyro abilities as well, but once you find yourself off stage, you are pretty vulnerable. And Davis capitalizing on that very well. East Valley potentially needing to take another look at how we are going to be optimizing those routes back to the stage as we get back underway here in this final matchup between Davis and East Valley.
Oh, we are going to Battlefield.
Stage.
We are going to another stage.
Let's go.
Battlefield is one of my favorite stages here. I personally just love the platforms, and especially with Pyra Mithra, a character I've had in pocket for a little bit. You were able to do so much off the platforms. You saw that up smash, trapping the Lucas there on that platform, just getting the great catch. And I think that's a great option here for East Valley in this last set, just being able to utilize these platforms to your advantage here, whether it be for your own movement or for using it for some offensive extensions, which is something I personally just really love here. And I'm really excited to see how we get going into this. Lucas trying to get some extra things going on as well, as we do see the switch to Pyra from the end of East Valley. There's the up smash from below platform, which is very scary if it connects. Not going to do so at that time. Both these players kind of just filling each other out in this one. No one able to really get a big advantage.
Yeah, interesting to go to the Pyra very early on, because you typically think, Mithra at the lower percents, just using the movement, using the speed, but Pyra has a lot more. I think that, hang on a second, I think that, okay, well, Davis briefly saved that East Valley Mithra, and then immediately banished them to the Shadow Realm with that PK freeze, so, if it's good for one, it's good for two, and Pirates will get that stock either way.
Yeah, PK Freeze is very much one of those moves I like to call a skill check, or really a matchup check here if you're playing against Lucas. If you know how to dodge PK Freeze, it's pretty easy to just play around it. But if you get caught with it in a really bad spot, it is very punishing. That takes you at a very sharp angle over towards the side.
Yep.
And it does take some sucks early, especially against Pyra Mithra, a character with a much more linear recovery than you would expect from a character who has such a high reputation here. Pyra at this percentage is going to be able to find a stock on Lucas, hopefully, especially with all these kill moves potentially up in their arsenal. You're seeing a lot of aerials being thrown out, not going to be able to punish that up smash. And you're going to see Jab put him into a situation maybe for an edge guard, switching over to Mithra, who at 164 should be able to find the stock with either an aerial or at least a well-placed forward smash.
Noticing a lot of rolls, and I mean, I think that I heard it said by, I don't know if it was last, it was some, wow, what an incredible combo there from the Pirates, taking another stock. But whoever it was that said it, everyone has a roll habit. It's just a matter of how bad the habit is going to be. And it looks like it has definitely been a weakness for Prism plays from the East Valley side of things, as Davis High School now one stock away from putting us at the end of this game. Again, they are 7 points down, so regardless of the outcome, the week will go to East Valley, but you'd love to go out on the positive note here.
Oh yeah, just extra points on the board. If it's at least a moral victory, it does help your team a lot here. That back throw is going to send it into a really rough spot, and that's a great edge guard as well. That's going to seal this set here. And as you mentioned, East Valley does take the overall matchup, but that's 4 more points on the board here for Davis, taking it into a loss only of 9-6 here. Really some great stuff overall that we saw from both of these teams here today.
Yeah, and in particular in that last matchup, it seemed like we saw a lot more edge guarding, which I thought that we'd see more of against like the heavier characters like your K. Rool, your Ganondorf, your Ridley, but it surprisingly wasn't until we saw one of the best characters in the game on the screen that we started to go off stage and really try to contend with some of those recovery options. So definitely credit where it's due to the Pirates for understanding what your strengths and weaknesses of each character are, at least in that last round, and getting some good mileage out of those edge guards. But while we've got a second here, Spicy, I do want to thank our number 3 sponsor, Down, hang on, I always get this wrong. So digital right is over there. Seattle Built PCs. Big old thank you to them for their continued support of WSSEA. Seattle Built PCs are the custom PC builders trusted by the pros, and since 2020, they've been crafting incredible rigs for world famous esports players, content creators with millions of fans, and even the developers of your favorite games at home. And Seattle Built wants to work with you to create the perfect PC for your needs whenever you're ready. So if you're looking for a custom-built PC built by people who care, check out Seattle Built PCs at seattlebuilt.com. That is, once again, seattlebuilt.com, just as you can see it down there. And Spicy, that's going to do it for us, but we got to see some incredible Smash action today.
Oh, incredible Smash action from both of these sides. I think it's a great set overall here for regardless of the result. You get to take a lot away here, whether it be the highs of the victory, but also a lot of lessons to take into the future weeks here. And that's my favorite thing about esports formats in the league settings, where you're able to just make so many adaptations along the way. I'm really excited to see how a lot of these players develop over time, but that's gonna be it for this week. And now you just have to put what you learned here, take it into the next, and just keep growing as a player.
Well, that is going to do it for us. Like I said, I have been Kaizo. I've been joined by Spicy. Thank you to Connie and Taylor doing the production, making everything happen for us behind the scenes. Once again, real quick, thank you to our sponsors, Zotac Landfest and Seattle Built PCs. And if you want even more esports action, Spicy, you can stick around. Well, you'd have to wait a while, but Rocket League is coming up on Tuesday, 3/18 at 4 p.m. EST. I think that's 6 o'clock Eastern. Just adjust for whether or not I'm correct on the math on that one, but we'll toss it out here. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one.